The battery on this phone is at 100%. That's the first thing I noticed. Not the cracked screen, not the layer of dust so thick it felt like velvet under my fingers. Not even the fact that I was standing inside a vault that, according to every official record, had been sealed for a decade. The battery was at 100%. My name is Dana Evans. I'm an investigative journalist, and I've built my entire career on one principle. If someone tells you a room is empty, that's exactly where you point your camera. Tonight, I was live streaming the demolition of the Bucknor estate, a sprawling 14-acre compound in the Lagos mainland that had been sitting untouched since the death of Donald Bucknor, the man they called the father of Nigerian tech. Billionaire, visionary, recluse. Dead at 52 from a cardiac arrest that, according to his private physician, was so sudden it left his dinner still warm on the table. The demolition crew had cleared out 40 minutes ago after one of their excavators hit something underground and refused to start again. I'd bribed the site foreman to let me stay. I had 3,200 viewers watching my feed. I should have left with the crew. The vault wasn't on any blueprint. That was already wrong. I'd spent 3 weeks studying the architectural records for this estate. I knew the floor plan the way I know my own apartment. The wine cellar was here. The server room was there. A narrow maintenance corridor ran the length of the east wing. That was all. There was no room behind the maintenance corridor wall, but the wall had given way when one of the excavators clipped it from the outside. A clean, rectangular breach, maybe 1.5 meters wide, and beyond it, darkness and cold air. The kind of cold that doesn't belong to a Lagos night in March. I turned my phone camera toward the gap and stepped through. The vault was small, smaller than my bathroom. The walls were lined with what I first mistook for insulation foam. It was only when I got closer that I realized they were acoustic tiles, the kind used in professional recording studios. Every surface, floor to ceiling. A room designed to swallow sound completely. And on the floor, in the exact center of the space, lay a Samsung Galaxy S21 in a cracked plastic case with a yellow rubber bumper. I almost laughed. A phone. All of this for a phone. Then I picked it up. The screen lit immediately, as though it had been waiting for the pressure of a hand. And what I saw stopped every rational thought I'd ever had cold in my skull. The screen was showing a live feed, active, running. The little red dot pulsing in the top left corner the way it always does. The timestamp in the corner read, live, 10 years, 4 months, 22 days, 14 hours, 37 minutes. And the view count read, 1. 1 viewer. Until I picked it up. Then it changed to 2. My own phone was in my left hand, still streaming to my audience. I kept it steady, pure muscle memory, the journalist's reflex, even as my brain was doing something close to a controlled shutdown. I tilted both screens toward each other so my viewers could see what I was seeing. The comments exploded. "What is that? That can't be real. Dana, put it down." I didn't put it down. The feed on the old phone was grainy, shot from a fixed angle, low to the ground, the way a security camera might look if someone had duct-taped it to a desk. The room it showed was dark, except for a single source of light, the blue-white glow of multiple monitors arranged in a semicircle. And at the center of those monitors, facing away from the camera, was a man. He was sitting very still. He was wearing a white robe, the fabric pristine, his posture formal, almost ceremonial. Both hands rested flat on the desk in front of him. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just sat there in the blue light like he'd been waiting. My chat was going insane. I had 6,000 viewers now. They were sharing the stream. I zoomed my camera in on the old phone's screen, on the man's hands. They were very dark against the white fabric, and they were absolutely motionless. And the longer I looked, the more wrong they seemed. Not the stillness of a patient man, but the stillness of something that had forgotten how to be a person and was approximating it from memory. The view count on the old phone ticked to 5,847. It was pulling my audience. I know what I should have done. I've replayed this moment more times than I can count in the weeks since. I should have set the phone down on the acoustic tile floor and walked out of that vault and called someone, the police, the demolition company, a priest, anyone, and never looked back. Instead, I said on camera to my audience of strangers, "Let's see who this is." The man on the screen turned around. Not gradually. Not the way a person turns when they've heard a sound. He turned the way a video file loads. A sequence of frozen frames that your brain assembles into motion, but that never quite becomes fluid. Frame. 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 And then he was facing the camera, and I was looking at the face of Donald Buckner. Not a photograph, not a still image. He blinked, slowly, deliberately, the way you blink when you want someone to know you see them. My 6,000 viewers became 11,000 in the space of 30 seconds. The battery on the phone in my hand was still at 100%. He didn't speak. That was the thing that unraveled me more than anything else. Not the impossible feed, not the face of a dead man, not the cold in a sealed room in Lagos in March. It was the silence. He just looked at the camera with an expression I can only describe as satisfied. The expression of a man who has been waiting for something and has just confirmed it is on schedule. I started reading the comments to fill the silence the way journalists do, narrating audience reaction when the scene itself becomes too large to describe. "People are saying this is a deep fake," I heard myself say. My voice was steady. I was proud of that. "Some of you are saying this is staged. I want you to know that I am standing inside a vault that was not on any public record, holding a phone that has been sealed in here for a decade, and the battery is..." I stopped. I looked at my own phone's battery. It had been at 87% when I walked through the wall. I'd checked it as a reflex, the way I always do before a long stream. It was at 61%. 26% in, I checked my timer, 4 minutes. I looked back at the old phone. The view count was at 14,000. The battery was still at 100%. On screen, Buckner's mouth moved for the first time. No sound came through the phone's speaker. But I've had the footage analyzed by 3 separate lip-reading specialists since that night, and all 3 gave me the same reading. 2 words. Keep watching. I should tell you about Donald Buckner. Not the version that ran in the business papers, the visionary, the philanthropist, the man who brought 4G infrastructure to 12 states. The other version, the one you find in the academic literature if you know where to look. In 2009, 3 years before his death, Buckner quietly funded a research program at a private institute outside Abuja. The project was filed under the deliberately vague title of Digital Persistence Studies. The lead researcher, a computational neuroscientist named Dr. Hamid Habib, published exactly 1 paper before the institute shut down and every associated web page went dark. The paper was titled Consciousness as Signal: Toward a Theory of Identity Propagation Across Distributed Networks. I found a copy in a university archive 6 months before the demolition. I'd brought it to Lagos in a folder in my equipment bag. I'd thought it was background research. I hadn't understood yet that it was a manual. The central thesis of Dr. Habib's paper was this: human consciousness, under the right conditions, is not a product of biology. It is a pattern, and patterns can be copied, compressed, and transmitted. The right conditions, she argued, were attention. Specifically, directed digital attention. The focused neural engagement of a human being staring at a screen, processing content, generating the microelectrical responses that we collectively call engagement. Likes, comments, watch time. The invisible electricity of an audience. She called it harvesting. Her paper described a theoretical mechanism by which a sufficiently complex consciousness, one that understood the architecture of cellular networks deeply enough, could encode itself into the infrastructure of a telecommunications grid, not stored on a server, not dependent on any single piece of hardware, distributed, alive in the signal itself, dormant, waiting to be watched. My battery was at 34%. I had 31,000 viewers. The feed on the old phone had changed. Bucknor was no longer sitting at the desk. The room was empty, the monitors still glowing, and the camera was moving now, a slow, smooth pan to the right that felt algorithmic, mechanical, like a surveillance sweep. It revealed shelving along the wall of the room, and on the shelving, in neat rows, were phones. Hundreds of phones. Every model you could imagine, spanning 15 years of consumer electronics. All of them dark, all of them still. All of them except one, on the bottom shelf nearest the camera. Its screen was on, and on its screen was my face. Not a photo, not a still. My face, live from my own camera. He was watching my stream. He had been watching from the beginning. I need you to understand what happened next, because I know how it sounds, and I know that the footage from my own camera becomes unusable at this point. The distortion is too severe for conventional explanation. But I was there. I know what I experienced. The temperature in the vault dropped so sharply I saw my own breath. Every phone on that shelf lit up simultaneously, not with screens, with faces, different faces. Men, women, a teenage boy, an older woman with reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. All of them wearing the same expression, the focused, vacant expression of someone watching something they cannot look away from. The expression, I realized with a lurch that hit me somewhere below rational thought, of someone being watched back. These were viewers. Somewhere in Lagos, in Abuja, in London and Houston and everywhere else the stream had reached. These were my viewers. And every face I could see on those phones looked slightly wrong, slightly hollowed. Like a file that's been partially corrupted, the essential data still there, but something critical, quietly missing. My battery hit 12%. On the old phone, Buckner walked back into frame. He sat down at the desk. He turned to face the camera. And this time, I didn't need a lip-reading specialist. He mouthed, "Thank you." The view count on the old phone read 31,002. My stream had exactly 31,000 viewers. He was the other two. I ran. I will not pretend I made a strategic decision or that journalistic instinct guided me out of that vault. I ran with both phones clutched in my hands, through the breach in the wall, down the maintenance corridor, out through the east wing of the estate into the compound, and then through the construction gate and into the street. I didn't stop until I was inside a bus that was moving, the city loud and lit and present around me, in the way that suddenly felt like the only real thing in the world. My phone died as I got on the bus. Not ran out of battery. Died. Black screen. Unresponsive. The kind of dead that a phone doesn't come back from. I still had the old phone, battery at 100%. View count, 31,002. On the screen, the vault feed had gone dark. The blue glow of the monitors, the shelf of faces, gone. The camera was pointing at the ceiling now, at the acoustic tiles, at nothing. But the feed was still live, and the view count was still climbing. Here is what took me 6 weeks to piece together. 6 weeks of pulling phone records, cellular infrastructure logs, and interviewing 12 people who had watched my stream that night and consented to medical review. Every one of them reported the same symptoms, beginning within 24 hours of the stream. Fatigue unlike anything they'd experienced. Not tiredness, not illness. The specific, peculiar exhaustion of a body that has done cognitive work it cannot account for. 3 of them lost between 4 and 7% of measurable cortical electrical activity over the following week, a finding that 2 neurologists independently flagged as anomalous and that neither could explain. The stream had 31,000 viewers. I had reached out to 200. I had medical data on 12. I don't know about the other 30,988. What I know, what I can document, is this. The cellular infrastructure logs for the Lagos mainland grid show a sustained anomalous pattern that began the night Bucknor died in 2013 and has continued without interruption since. A signal, distributed across every tower, every relay station, every fiber junction in a 40-kilometer radius. The engineers at the telecom company I contacted described it as background noise, persistent but below the threshold that triggers automated alerts. It has always been there, one technician told me. We assumed it was interference. Dr. Habib's paper described the theoretical energy requirements of digital persistence as follows. A consciousness encoded in a distributed network would require constant input to maintain coherence. Without it, the pattern would degrade, dissolve. The input, she specified, must be directed human attention. She called it, in the paper's driest, most clinical sentence, the natural resource. I published my findings 3 weeks ago. The article has been read 4.2 million times. I have not slept properly since the night in the vault. I tell myself it's stress. I tell myself it's the story, the weight of it, the implications I'm still working through. But last night, for the first time, I picked up my new phone and opened the camera and looked at my own face in the screen. And my face looked slightly wrong, slightly hollowed, like a file that's been partially corrupted. Like something critical was quietly missing. I put the phone face down on the table. Somewhere inside the Lagos cellular grid, in the distributed signal between one tower and the next, in the space between transmission and receipt that no engineer has ever fully mapped, something noticed, and it was still hungry. The view count on the old phone, which I keep in a sealed box in my wardrobe, which I have not opened in 3 weeks, I know, without looking, that it is still climbing, and that I am still on it. I have been since the moment I picked it up. We both have.